To understand why we respond the way we do when in a crisis, we'll start by learning about the chemicals of the brain that control our responses. One common question I receive is how to help stabilize or elevate someone's mood. It could be when medications are not effective or preferred, or even at other times. I want to talk about how to push the body to respond in a way that is more productive. I am super excited to discuss this topic. People often ask me what to do if mood stabilizers don't work for them, or when they really just need to lift their mood or regulate themselves. Understanding what can trigger the release of these hormones and what they can do in combination with each other can help you use your body as a tool you can maneuver. The brain releases chemicals that play a major role in how we feel and function each day. The first of which is dopamine, known as the feel-good chemical. Dopamine is the hormone designed to make sure we get things done. This highly addictive chemical can be released through anything that promotes pleasure, achievement, like alcohol, drugs, gambling, social media. Your body makes it, and your nervous system uses it to send messages between nerve cells. It's impossible to pinpoint a single cause of most mental health disorders, but many are often linked to a dopamine imbalance. Oftentimes, when I am working with physically aggressive students that are targeting someone or something, they feel the need to dominate because they know that they'll feel a dopamine release. Dopamine has an influence on multiple areas, including learning, motivation, heart rate, kidney or blood vessel function, sleep, mood, attention, control of nausea and vomiting, pain processing, or even movement. How can we get our body to release dopamine in a healthy way, or release it in conjunction with productive chemicals such as oxytocin and serotonin? Strategies could include completing an activity or a task such as moving a piece of furniture, filling out a worksheet, cleaning a room, or organizing a shelf. A community chemical, serotonin, is known as a chemical of loyalty, recognition, and pride. It plays a role in mood, emotions, appetite, and digestion, while also acting as a messenger between nerve cells. It is believed that serotonin influences social behavior by shifting social preferences in a positive direction, enhancing the value people place on others' outcomes. It enables brain cells and other nervous system cells to communicate with each other. Serotonin is found in your stomach and intestines as well as the brain, and studies have shown that low levels of serotonin can lead to depression, anxiety, suicidal behavior, and obsessive-compulsive disorder. Most forms of movement will promote the release of serotonin. It is also influenced by the sun and actually releases very systematically with increasing frequency upon waking. Meditation also has been shown to increase the levels of serotonin. Known as the love chemical, oxytocin is the feeling of confidence, safety, love, and stability. The feelings released by hugging or by doing something nice for someone else come from this chemical that is known to actually boost the immune system and make us healthier. Synthesized in the brain and the gut, oxytocin plays a key role in social interactions and behaviors, and in fear conditioning, which directly relates to anxiety. It is a very complex chemical that has had significant research that we still do not fully understand. It is released with stimulation to the vagus nerve through social contact and gaze. Released into our brains under the right circumstances, oxytocin has the power to regulate our emotional responses and pro-social behaviors, including trust, empathy, positive memories, processing of bonding cues, and positive communication. On the other hand, it can cause jealousy or suspicion. This can lead to paranoia over time and increased anxiety. There's research that states that oxytocin can aid in sleep quality because it counters the effects of cortisol. It can induce appetite suppression by reducing activity in the hypothalamus and increasing activity in the prefrontal cortex, which is the area that helps impulse control. Some ways to increase our oxytocin levels include contact with another living thing, even a plant. But something that gives noticeable feedback is best. Positive recognitions work well. Endorphins are the mask the pain chemical, specifically designed to make physical pain in the body decrease. Stress and pain are the two most common factors leading to the release of endorphins. At least 20 types of endorphins have been demonstrated in humans. Endorphins interact with the opiate receptors in the brain to reduce our perception of pain and act similarly to drugs, but do not lead to addiction or dependence. Each person has a different response to endorphins. The release of endorphins may lead to feelings of exhilaration, which can in turn help with appetite suppression or regulation and increase the immune response. The most common way to release these neurohormones is through vigorous exercise. Several years ago, I was supporting some students at a Halloween parade. I was dressed in my iconic sumo wrestler costume and enjoying myself a bit too much, and about halfway into the parade, one of the students, who was dressed as a ninja, became agitated over a remark someone made. That agitation quickly turned into an escalation, and he ended up running from the parade out of frustration, with me chasing after him. Unbeknownst to us, the visual of a sumo wrestler chasing a tiny ninja was a pretty comical sight for our onlookers, many of who exclaimed their love of our outfits. Having now received some physical exercise and praise for his costume, he quickly de-escalated and returned to his baseline state. Laughter is also a common way to access these neurohormones. Dark chocolate, spicy chilies can also help garner an endorphin response. The spicier the better. There have been lots of studies on essential oils that can actually help increase endorphin release. My top 4 are rosemary, citrus scents, frankincense, and ylang ylang. Next, we have cortisol, the chemical with the worst reputation. This fight or flight chemical is a feeling of stress or anxiety and can lead to weight gain, high blood pressure, muscle weakness, mood irritability, memory loss, and a ton of other less than pleasant things. Cortisol certainly has its drawbacks, but we also need it. When the body is under stress, cortisol helps to balance the body and works as an anti-inflammatory. It's a steroid neurohormone created in the adrenal gland that regulates a wide range of body functions, including metabolism and immune response. Cortisol is often linked to melatonin. First, because it's a neurohormone, and second, because when cortisol levels are high, typically that impacts sleep. Cortisol also moves on a circadian rhythm, spiking at about 8 or 9 a.m. and then gradually decreasing during the day with some small spikes until about 4 p.m. Societal or mental stress can release higher amounts of cortisol, and this is done in an effort to help the rest of the body by reducing inflammation and regulating body systems. Let's talk about adrenaline. Adrenaline raises our arousal levels and awareness and elevates mood. Have you ever walked to your car and felt like someone was watching you? That is your heightened awareness that adrenaline gives you the power to see and feel what is happening and react in a matrix-like fashion. Or when we go on a roller coaster and scream in scared fun and excitement and get off and our legs and arms feel weak and tingly and we are giggling, but we typically don't want to do it again because it's exhausting. That's adrenaline. Having too little adrenaline can lead to an inability to properly adjust to a stressful situation. This could look like not moving quickly enough when a car is coming towards you. People rarely talk about too little adrenaline, but that could keep mood low and impact motivation. It can also lead to a lack of response in a crisis situation. Too much adrenaline leads to a variety of health issues, especially if the perceived fear was not a real fear at all. Overactive adrenaline release can cause high levels of anxiety, irritability, insomnia, being jittery, and narrowed vision. However, a healthy dose of adrenaline could help move the person to a goal, and doing something with an adrenaline kick could release some dopamine and make one feel successful. A healthy dose could create vision clarity, dull the pain, make breathing easier, as well as boost strength and strengthen that immune system. Our bodies remember these situations, how they felt and the impacts, and the body goes back to what it knows. It has a memory. Healing our bodies means letting go of some of these patterns and using adrenaline for its purpose to help identify danger. Sweet melatonin. This sleepy chemical is one that decreases with age. Melatonin is primarily known as the sleep chemical. It doesn't actually make you sleep, but as the amounts rise in the body, it puts you into a state of restful awakeness. Our bodies have an optimum time for when they would like to go to sleep. This is referred to as our circadian rhythm. Our circadian rhythm is often defined by the light and darkness outside each day. Your brain produces melatonin, a hormone released by the pineal gland in response to the light and darkness. When there is more darkness, melatonin production increases to aid the body in falling asleep and staying asleep. Melatonin has a direct relationship with serotonin. When serotonin increases in the body, melatonin decreases. When serotonin decreases, melatonin increases. Some other fantastic things that melatonin can help with are reducing anxiety, promoting eye health, and strengthening the immune system, because melatonin is rich in antioxidants. An imbalance with melatonin could easily lead to escalations. We'll explore this neurohormone in more detail in our sleep hygiene section of the course. So how do these chemicals relate to one another in real-life scenarios? Each chemical has a unique identity, but the chemicals tend to work in specific combinations. For example, you have that feeling of pride that you may have experienced at your graduation, or perhaps you can relate to the satisfied feeling of landing your dream job. That's actually dopamine and serotonin working together to create that joy in our brains. The chemicals all combine in specific ways, and understanding how to utilize these chemicals can be a powerful tool. Some common scenarios that I have seen related to the hormones include a student's bullying another student who is smaller and weaker. That's someone who's looking for a dopamine release. I recommend that you find a way for the person acting as the bully to complete a task. This would help release oxytocin, dopamine, and possibly some serotonin. An exhausted teen throwing themselves into a chair. This is a melatonin imbalance. For this student, endorphins, serotonin, and possibly dopamine are needed. Have the student deliver something upstairs so that they are forced to physically stimulate themselves, and this will help release those endorphins. A student refusing to complete work is generally going to be related to a lack of dopamine, likely a lack of serotonin and oxytocin also. In this situation, the student may be getting a small release of dopamine in the refusals to complete the work. Find a way for the student to feel appreciated, and their refusals may disappear. I often am asked about what hormones are best for learning or productivity. My top 3 include oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. That combo primes the prefrontal cortex for learning, and that's my 3-step recipe for releasing these hormones. And it includes peer interaction to connect with someone, helping or volunteering in some way to do something for another person, and demonstrating appreciation. I also want to direct your attention to the great additional resource, Kelly McGonigal's Upside of Stress. It's a fantastic read and has some super strategies. This book is a meta-analysis of stress studies. Okay, so I know that was a lot of information and it might be a bit overwhelming. No worries. We're putting all of this into a downloadable PDF cheat sheet for you to have access if needed. This can be found in the details below this video, as well as in the downloads and discounts section of the course. If you have any questions about the material covered in this lesson, please feel free to leave a comment in the chat below or reach out to us directly at support@coremethods.com. See you in the next video. Seriously,